Hi guys, let's go watching. Just before that, subscribe and enjoy yourself. The Duchy of Cassius sat around a large dinner table. Ethel Valet was the wife of the Duke's eldest son, Leandro. She overhears Estelle's husband forcing Liena, the main character of the novella, to eat carrots, which Liena doesn't like at all. Leandro leaned over to Liena and told her that she needed to eat well to be healthy at all times. Liena angrily said she didn't like carrots at all. She added that she wouldn't die from not eating the carrots the guy offered. The head of the grateful family, Duke Cassius, shouted for them all to stop teasing his daughter Liena immediately. The man added that none of them had the right to force Duke Cassius's child to eat something he didn't like at all. Duke Cassius looked at his maids with displeasure. He said he didn't understand at all how a dish with Liena's unloved ingredient ended up on the table. The man said the servants could say goodbye to whoever came up with the menu. After saying those words, Liena threw herself at her father's feet. With tears in her ruby-red eyes, she told Duke Cassius that one should not be thrown out of work for such a small thing, and asked her father not to be angry with the maids. Duke Cassius said he would turn a blind eye to the mistake about the carrots this time. The father stroked his daughter's head, and the Duke of Liam's youngest son said that Liena was their sweet and innocent bunny. Ethel Vallis's husband added that she was a very kind person. The wife of the Duke's eldest son, Leandro, continued to eat her meal. She didn't react in any way to Liena's act. Miss Ethel was annoyed that the boys were treating the girl like a child, even though Liena was already 20 years old. At that moment, the Duke's daughter was approached by her little brother, Lycum. He held a small carrot in his hands and told Liena a tempting offer. The guy said that if his little sister ate all those carrots, her little brother would give her a present. Leandro, the older brother, stroked Cassius's daughter's head. Ethel's husband said he would also give the girl a present if Liena ate a carrot. The Duke's daughter excitedly asked why they were giving her presents if it wasn't her birthday. The Duke of Ligam's youngest son approached Ethel's husband. The guy leaned over to Leandro, put his hand on his shoulder, and said he should get his spouse something. Lycum added that Ethel Vallis would be angry for such an act by her husband. Lendro looked at his wife Ethel Vallis with misunderstanding. He sighed nervously at the words of Leham's younger brother and said with a serious face that he saw no point in giving something to his wife, as there was no occasion for a gift today. Ethel Vallet was not at all pleased at her husband's words. The girl didn't give any sign and calmly replied to Leander that today was the celebration of their wedding anniversary. The man's wife added that exactly 2 years ago, Leandro and Ethel got married. Duke Liam's youngest son said with a smirk on his face that he didn't understand how Leandro could forget his anniversary. The guy added that he's not a very good spouse. The Duke's daughter, named Liena, said their anniversary is today. Duke Cassius was not at all pleased with his eldest son Leandro's action. The head of the noble family was holding a glass of red wine. Cassius said that if Leandro made his family, he should be kind and remember to take care of her. Leandro furrowed his eyebrows and said in a disgruntled voice before his wife Ethel that of course it was his fault for forgetting their anniversary. But the man added that nowhere is it written that a husband is obligated to give his wife wedding anniversary gifts. Ethel Vallis's husband averted his eyes in another direction, away from his spouse. Leandro said their wedding anniversary is their shared celebration. He added that he was well aware of the fact that my lady had not prepared an anniversary gift for him. At this point, the wife of the Duke's eldest son, Ethel Valet, remembered all the events her husband had done. Leandro left my lady alone on their honeymoon, and the first anniversary gift the guy delivered through an assistant. When sweet girl Ethel had her birthday, she joyfully announced her day to her husband Leander, but along with words of congratulations to her, Ethel Valet received an aggressive response from her man. Allegedly, he is busy. On one such day, my Lady Valet suggested to her husband to take a walk, but the Duke's eldest son turned around with a serious face and said that before his wife's proposal, Leandro had already arranged to take a walk with his little sister Liena. Leandro said with a smirk on his face that in all cases, he doesn't see his guilt at all. The man failed to recognize the fact that he had forgotten their wedding anniversary and the fact that he had not prepared a gift for his wife Ethel. But suddenly, As the man continued to smile suspiciously and justify himself to his wife, a box flew into his face. It was a gift my lady had prepared for their anniversary, a small white box with pink bows. Ethel Valet rose abruptly from the dining table. The girl was very annoyed by her young man's act. Ethel, furrowing her brows, aggressively yelled out that she demanded an immediate divorce from her husband Leandro. Ethel Vallis rose from the Duke's dining table and turned her back to her husband Leandro. This my lady suggested to her young man that he should immediately proceed with the divorce proceedings. Leandro was shocked at his spouse's words. After my lady had spoken about her husband, she went up to her room. Ethel went to her dressing table and took her jewelry in her hand. Vallis added that she needs to grab a couple things before she leaves this house. Suddenly, her husband burst into Ethel's room. He asked his wife if my lady really wanted a divorce from him. The girl replied that she had already made up her mind, and it would be a divorce. Leandro asked in a disgruntled voice what Miss was unhappy about their marriage. Duke's eldest son, Leandro, began to aggressively apologize to his wife for forgetting their anniversary today. But Ethel Vallis interrupted him and irritably said that it wasn't just that her spouse had forgotten about the celebration. Leandro said he recognizes that they have difficulties. He added that it's normal for a marriage of convenience. The girl said she understood it perfectly well herself. Then Ethel's consort said something to the effect that if my lady understood everything, what was the matter? But suddenly, their topic of dialogue changed abruptly. This was due to the fact that in the eyes of the eldest son of Duke Leandro, the wedding dress caught his eye. He told his wife also to look at this dress, which was covered with a transparent cloth to keep it from getting dirty. He stepped closer to this wedding dress and removed the top extra fabric. Leandro asked his wife Ethel Vallis if she remembered wearing this dress at their wedding. The man added that those were pretty good times. But my lady Ethel Vallis was extremely angry at the above words of her young man Leandro. The girl said that at the time of the wedding, she was not at all well. She added that it wasn't even her wedding dress, trying on a wedding dress a couple months before their wedding. Ethel Valet wore a long, white, non-fluffy wedding dress. On the chest, there were golden inserts and moonstone, and at the back of the dress there was something like a lush bow. Ethel Vallis' pink-haired Ethel was approached by a girl consultant from an expensive dress store. This boutique brought all the models to the Duke Cassius estate. The counselor asked which dress Ethel would like to try on next from their selection. The wife of Duke Leandro's eldest son was very excited about the arrival of this store to their estate. Ethel Valet said that this boutique is famous for having the dresses created by the best designer in the empires, and each model is a true masterpiece. Suddenly, Duke Cassius's daughter Liana walked into the room where the wedding dresses were being tried on. The girl's older brother asked what happened, and Liana said she just wanted to watch her little sister try on dresses. Liana walked over to one of the wedding dresses and took the fabric with her hand. This little girl asked her big brother if she could try on at least one of these dresses. She continued to stare at Leandro with eyes as red as rubies. Ethel Wells could understand Liana, for she too had always wanted to try on such wedding dresses. My Lady Ethel gave her consent for the Duke's daughter to try on the dresses after all, adding that there would be nothing wrong with it. At this moment, Duke Cassius and Leandro's younger brother Lycum burst into Lady Vallis's room. Liana's father inquired as to whether Miss Liana was here, as they wanted to have tea with her, but Cassius and Liam were told that Miss had run in here. Unexpectedly, Liana herself emerged from the fitting room. She was dressed in a lush and shiny wedding dress. It had inserts of beads, flowers, rhinestones, and bows. Miss smilingly asked what Daddy and the siblings thought of the dress. The younger Liam brother was surprised at the image of his sister. He excitedly poked a finger at the girl and asked why the Duke's youngest daughter was wearing a wedding dress. To which my Lady Liana proudly raised her head and said she felt like trying it on. The men began to remember Liana's words to them as children. She talked about wanting to marry one of them when she grows up. Liana folded her arms and asked her dad and siblings to stop remembering her baby babble. After the youngest daughter tried on all the wedding dresses she wanted, Duke Cassius offered Liana and Liam a cup of tea each. As they all walked toward the exit, Lycum turned and wished his brother Leandro good luck. Ethel Valet was very glad that Lyanna, the Duke, and Liam were finally off, for she was getting very tired of them. At this moment, the Duke's eldest son was looking at the rack of wedding dresses that the boutique at Cassius Manor had brought in. Leandro's husband took one dress. It was the same wedding dress that his sister Lyanna had measured before. He, smiling, turned and asked Lady Ethel what about this choice. Leandro added that Lyanna looked beautiful in it. At this moment, Duke Cassius's eldest son began to remember all the events that had happened that day. He was very agitated. There was misunderstanding and distraction in his ocean blue eyes. Leandro started to say it wasn't like that. Lady Ethel's young man began to say that his wife had tried on the very wedding dress that was being talked about. But Ethel Vallis was very angry with Leandro. She blurted out that such a thing had not even happened that day. Mr. Leandro's girlfriend looked at her young man with very cold and irritated eyes. Ethel Valet furrowed her brows and summarized in an angry voice that it was not she who had tried on that wedding dress, but his sister. Leandro aggressively said he would never make such a stupid mistake. He said that Ethel had definitely messed something up. Lady Valet said with a displeased face that she could certainly tell the two dresses apart, and there was no need to think her quite stupid. The young man said disdainfully that he could tell the difference between the dresses, too. Leandro said that Ethel Vallis is making all this up now so that she has something to accuse him of. Milady was shocked at the boy's answer. Ethel says that Leandro wants to validate that she's lying to him. Duke Cassius's eldest son immediately turned the other way, saying that he didn't mean it. Lord added that there was no way they could have gotten them mixed up, even though the girls look alike. Duke's eldest son, Leandro, asked about why his wife Ethel hadn't said all this before. The young man added that my lady was likely offended that someone else was trying on her wedding dresses, but the girl was not stopped by the above words of the man. Ethel took her huge suitcase with the belongings she had managed to pack and scrambled toward the exit of the estate. This my lady said that her young man was blind to his mistakes. Lord Leandro wanted to stop his consort by the shoulder, but she immediately threw his palm away. Lady Valet, frowning her eyebrows, said in an aggressive voice that she would prepare absolutely all the papers to separate. She will mail them to the young man. The girl added that Leandro would only need to sign those sheets. My Lady Ethel did not care for her young man's words. The girl walked out of Cassius Manor with a suitcase in her hands. Pink hair was developing outside in the wind, and the lady was thinking of nothing. Vallis made it home and collapsed onto her crib with a good cheer. The lady added that she was very happy, even because of packing in a hurry and forgetting a lot of things in that Cassius estate. The girl still felt comfortable. She smiled and pulled up and said that any little things could be worked out a little later. The most important thing to Lady Ethel now is the divorce between her and Leandro. At that moment, at Cassius's estate, the youngest son, Lycum, and Leandro were sitting at the table drinking tea. The teenager asked about what the brother had done for himself about his wife's departure, to which the young man, Leandro, replied that Ethel would be back soon. The younger brother, Lycum, scratched his head and asked his older brother what made him come to such conclusions. He added that my Lady Ethel Valet had told her spouse that she wanted a definite separation from Leandro. Leandro, calmly sipping his tea, said that his spouse was a wise woman. Lady Ethel only got a little upset and started threatening divorce. The Lord said to make Liam believe him about Vally's return very soon. Liam asked his brother if he was sure that after a time, Ethel would still come back to him. The man calmly said that their marriage from the beginning was not based on feelings at all. Leandro added that emotions in a relationship are far from the main thing. Also, the husband of Ethel Vallis added that Lyanna herself told him about the fact that everything will be fine in their relationship. The man added that his sister always gives them valuable advice, and sometimes she can say things that completely stun the opponent. Leandro folded his arms and stared into the distance with confident eyes as blue as the sky. The young man said he would certainly not divorce Lady Ethel. The next morning at Duke Cassius's estate, a butler knocked at my Lord Leandro's room. The man asked if the young man was awake yet, as they were already waiting for him at their front door. The Duke's eldest son, didn't even have time to finish listening to what the butler was saying. The man immediately ran to the front door, saying that his spouse was finally back, just like he said. You could tell by the look on Leandro's face that he had been up all night. But as soon as he opened that door, there was a regular mailman standing on the doorstep of the estate, waiting for the guy. Leandro thought his wife was near the front door. The letter deliverer excitedly said he wanted Lord Leandro Cassius. The delivery man took the envelope and held it out to Duke Landre's eldest son. The letter carrier said that Lady Ethel asked me to give the young man this document. My lady requested that this letter be delivered personally into the hands of Cassius's son. When he opened the envelope betrayed by his wife, he saw a sheet on which was written about the application for dissolution of marriage. Inside was a note from Ethel Valleys that said they were meeting today at City Hall. My Lord Leandro Cassius stood in the main square of Lowen, the capital of the Asteros Empire, and waited for his wife to arrive at the appointed time. Suddenly, into the young man's blue eyes, the familiar silhouette of Lady Ethel Vallet rushed into view. Ethel stepped closer to the Duke's son. The lady said with a disgruntled face that she was surprised that Leandro wasn't even late for the meeting. The man, meanwhile, squeezed the sheet his spouse had sent him. Lord asked why she had sent it to him. Ethel said she sent it to break up with him. Duke's eldest son, Leandro, said he didn't expect her to do that. The young guy added that he was a fool and had been worried about the girl the whole time. To which my Lady Vallet, furrowing her brows, replied with a sigh in her breast that she had not asked Lord Leandro to worry about her. The girl only added that she was happy for the young man to finally admit that he was a fool. Lady Ethel turned her back on the man and walked toward the divorce building. Miss said she suggests to her husband a calm and peaceful separation with no misunderstandings. She added that she never wants to see the Duke's son again. Suddenly, the girl heard a loud sound, and it turned out to be Lord Leandro tearing up the statement which my Lady Ethel was sending to him through the letter carrier this morning. The man said he tore this envelope quite by accident. The Duke's eldest son spread his hands and said that there was nothing that could be done. The man suggested that Miss Ethel had better go somewhere now and talk the whole situation over quietly. But Lady Vallet pulled out of her bag another brown envelope. At this point, the girl held out another sheet about the dissolution of marriage statement. My Lady Ethel Valleys said she had specially saved another copy for such an occasion. Lord Leandro still kept tearing up the paperwork about the statement. Ethel was amused and held out another sheet asking if he wanted another application. The young man took the envelope from my lady and said in a rough voice that his wife could bring with her even 100 such copies. But my Lord Leandro, still no way, will not agree to a divorce. Ethel Wells frowned her eyebrows and said that there was no other option then to file for their divorce, so they would handle the matter through the court itself. The words spoken by his consort, my lord was not at all frightened. Lord Leandro said the girl wouldn't be able to drag him to court. The young man told Ethel about how she would never be able to defeat Cassius himself in this battle. Unexpectedly to the man, Lady Vallet shouted to the whole town that she was asking Leandro Cassius to separate from my Lady Ethel. The girl did this to make sure that as quickly as possible, rumors of their divorce went viral. Lady Ethel got a small smirk on her face after what she had done. She said rumors of their divorce would now spread throughout the capital. The girl added that her first goal had been accomplished. Leandro was outside the town hall. The girl walked away from the meeting place with the young man. Lady Ethel flung her hand back against the wall and said with a perplexed expression that she didn't want to admit it. But at first glance, my Lord Leandro might seem a very worthy spouse. The pink-haired lady lowered her head and said frustratedly that she had only one ground for filing for divorce, but it was a very intimate matter that Ethel was not yet ready to discuss with her lawyer. Suddenly, from behind my Lady Vallis's back, the Duke's eldest son jumped out. The man with his hands grasped his wife by the shoulders and excitedly said that he did not know how to express his feelings very well, but he still loved Lady Ethel as much as before. But the girl was quite angry with the young man. Ethel Wells aggressively questioned Leandro about why she should even believe what he said. Milady added that Duke Cassius's eldest son doesn't like her. At this moment, the lord leaned slightly towards his consort and said, "That's not true. A man says he married Lady Valet because he fell in love. The young man said he didn't want a divorce because he still loved Lady Ethel. Lord Leandro Cassius added that he had many far more favorable parties, but only one girl was able to attract his attention, and it was Ethel Wells. Ethel furrowed her eyebrows and told the boy that she was aware of why Leandro had chosen the Valleys family. She added that it was all because of the abandoned mines in Andal, since Liena wanted to get her hands on them. That's why the Lord married Lady Valet. These mines were once fully exploited, but gradually the vein was depleted, and then they were abandoned. These mines were the property of the Vallis family. No one could have guessed at the time that they would turn out to be a real treasure. Duke Cassius's eldest son was shocked by his spouse's words. The young man tried to utter a word in the lady's direction, but nothing came out. Leandro didn't understand how Ethel knew about all this. Leandro had no way of understanding what his wife Ethel was saying. The girl turned around before the man said that when Leandro was drunk, he confessed all this to Lady Vallis himself. Ethel Wells told him something he seems to have forgotten, but clearly everything the lady said was a lie. Milady knew that the Duke's eldest son had no time to talk to the girl, even when he was drinking. The man stood shocked at his spouse's words. This interval of time, the Lord said nothing. Lady Ethel added that my Lord Leandro had confessed everything to her, and their marriage was solely due to the whim of his little sister Liena. Leandro excitedly said that this was all true, as he was originally only interested in Ethel for the dowry, but then the young man fell in love at first sight. The man added that after their first meeting, he stopped thinking about those mines. Then my Lady Ethel asked the young man why, after their marriage, Leandro had become too abruptly cold toward his daughter Valese. The girl added that the Duke's eldest son had stopped noticing the lady altogether. Ethel Wells turned around angrily and wanted to leave. The girl asked the young man about how long Leandro could keep noodling her. Milady said to the man, not holding her for a fool at all. Suddenly, the man grabbed his spouse's arm and stopped her. My Lord Leandro laid his palm on his heart and begged Lady Ethel Valet to give him a chance to explain himself to the girl. Ethel looked at the young man with a cold, piercing gaze. The girl asked about why she would give Leandro Cassius a chance. Ethel Velez added that the man just doesn't want to part with the Velez family mines. Leandro let go of his spouse's hand. The young man had nothing last to say for my Lady Ethel. The girl, having said she was thinking of the Lord, quietly walked away from the man in the other direction. Lady Vallis said that my Lord Leandro would not get one measly cave from her. The girl added that fortunately the mines were still listed in Ethel's name. Long ago, my lady asked her father to sign over all his caves to his daughter. Ethel Vallis said there was still a large amount of valuable rock left in those mines. The only problem was that they are located deep underground, so the mining losses could be even greater than the possible gains. The entire Duke Cassius family joined forces in an attempt to get their hands on the Ethel Valley's mines. The families had originally agreed that they would be part of the dowry, so their demands were not unfounded. But if you gave them the mines, it would be almost impossible to get them back. Ethel Valet got serious against the Cassius family. She said that these mines are one of the reasons why Leandro and their divorce should not be delayed. After a time, the girl came to the Forest of Adventurers, which was on the outskirts of the city. Ethel Wells was looking for some man. She said he had to be around here somewhere. Milady looked out from beneath the dense woods toward the quarry. Lady Ethel saw the silhouette of a black-haired, tall man doing something of his own downstairs. That man whom my Lady Ethel Valet saw was the chief villain of the whole novel. This man's name was Marquis Terence Freeheiden. Milady suddenly hid behind a tree. She said she knew she'd meet Terence here, but didn't expect it to happen so quickly. He was a high-born nobleman who would soon have even more power in his hands. The lady wondered if she should pretend to be lost. Valet added that she didn't know when their next meeting would take place, so it was necessary to catch the moment now, since Ethel wasn't going to be a piece of furniture in the Duke's house. At that moment, Marquis Terence asked who was in the dense forest. The man added that if the person in hiding values his life, then let him come out and show himself. The villain of this novel drew his sword and dashed towards the dense forest. The man said it wouldn't be enough for whoever was watching him to simply hold his breath to prevent Terence from noticing the other man's presence. Suddenly, the tree that the villain Terence had struck with his sword collapsed not far from my Lady Ethel. As it turned out, there was a suspicious man sitting in that tree. He was dressed in a black cape and had a black mask on top of his face. This suspicious man came at Marcus Terence with a knife. He told the black-haired man to die as quickly as possible, but soon the stranger missed. The villainous Freeheiden stuck his knife in the back of this suspicious stranger who had swung at him. Terence said it was all too trivial for him. The man didn't understand what kind of amateurs were being sent to him. All this spectacle was taking place before my Lady Ethel's eyes. She hid behind a tree, covering her mouth with her palms, and sat quietly without making a single sound or rustle. While in the background, the villain Terence carries on his back the stranger he killed. Ethel Valet was very much frightened by what she saw. She said it wasn't the best time for them to meet for the first time after all. The girl added that unfortunately the acquaintance would have to wait. Just as my Lady Ethel Valet was about to step back, she caught her foot, the hard and thick root of this tree. The girl tripped, thus flying straight down a huge cliff while in the forest of adventurers. But Lady Valet was lucky. She landed in someone's strong arms. When she opened her eyes, she saw before her the very main villain of the novella named Terence. The man looked at Ethel with his ruby-red eyes. The main villain of the novella asked the girl what such a young lady was doing in the thick of such a forest. Ethel was very excited about what had happened. Lady Valet stammered, saying that she had taken a little wrong turn as she strolled along. The girl eventually realized that she had told Terence utter nonsense and said that she had come to the Forest of Adventurers on a case. But it so happened that Ethel Valet simply got lost. The chief villain, Marquis Terence, looked at my lady with a serious face. The man asked if the young lady could share with him what the business of a girl in such a forest was. Ethel Valet excitedly said it was personal. The man pulled his knife from behind his back and said with a smirk on his face that he was very curious what the girl was here for. He added that only all sorts of bandits and various mercenaries walk here. Ethel Valet said with a smile on her face that she would tell the man after all. The girl said that even though it was really personal, she couldn't GE to satisfy her savior's curiosity. My Lady Ethel tilted her head and said without a smile on her face that she had come to this forest of adventurers to hire herself a mercenary for protection. She clarified that a person is needed as a chaperone for Lady Valleys. The girl pretended to be very much moved by the subject. She wiped the tears away with her handkerchief. Ethel added that she wanted to separate from her husband, but the one said he wouldn't let my lady go anywhere. And after that, the lady is scared that her husband will come after her. The main villain of the novella said that judging by her outfit, she's a noble lady. The man asked why the girl would not ask for the patronage of the knights in the order, to which Ethel Valet said that it was most unfortunate that she could not afford them. Terence leaned over and said that in that case, he apologized for himself for such inappropriate advice, to which my Lady Ethel Valet replied that on the contrary, she should apologize to the man, as she was pestering him. As the girl was about to leave, the lady ran into a large piece of wood. My Lady Ethel excitedly said that it must have been Terence who felled this piece during his training. She added that the villain's skills are impressive. Marquis Terence said with a smile that he would not be modest. The man agreed with what Valleys said and added that he was really good at it. He said the young lady wouldn't regret it at all if she hired the villain as a bodyguard. Ethel Valet became very agitated and turned away in the other direction. She said that as Terence realizes that money is tight with the girl right now, but the main villain of the novella interrupted her and said he'd be fine with minimum wage. But suddenly, Ethel Valet realized that this was a great opportunity. She realized that if Marquis Terence accompanied her, the lady would be able to get close to the main villain and scout out some pertinent information. The pink-haired girl smilingly said that if the man insisted, she would be very grateful to him. Lady Valet thanked Terence. The main villain of this novella says that young Ethel can just call it Ter. Milady said that for now she still carries her husband's last name, but they are about to separate. She said Ter would know her as Ethel Valet. The lady did not mention Cassius's last name, for she feared the lad might be wary. The man said the young lady could call him simply Ter. The main villain added that he came from humble origins. He says that because of this, the young man doesn't even have his own last name. Marquis Terence turned before my Lady Ethel and looked at her with his bright red eyes. He said that if the young lady was living apart from her husband, where exactly Ethel Valet was now. Valis smilingly said that for now, she is staying at the hotel, but is currently on an active search for a new home. Ter said he would be staying at the hotel for a while then, too. He asked her if the room across the hall was available. When Terence checked into the hotel, he started thinking about the young lady in his room. The man thought Ethel Valet was kind of weird, but for some reason he enjoyed watching my lady get nervous. He added that he wasn't even going to save the girl, but he couldn't help himself. Tara's feet carried him to the lady. The main villain of the novel realized that getting into unnecessary trouble was not in Terence's character at all. The man added that he will have to stay in the capital longer, indefinitely. The next morning, Lady Valis and the villainous Marquis Terence decided to go to the center of the capital. They walked into a small room that turned out to be a pharmacy. They were greeted and asked what kind of medicine they were looking for. The girl Ethel smilingly said she wished to buy herbs for tea. The black-haired Ter stood silent. He stood with a serious face and silently watched the young lady. Ethel Valet was sure that this tea would help Terry's attendant with his headache. My lady said that the so-called healing tea alleviates the effects of the curse that was placed on Marquis Terence. She said that from the beginning, Ethel Wells's plan was to use the main villain, Terence, to speed up the divorce proceedings, and in time, leave this empire before the battle for the throne even began. Now the girl thinks quite differently. Now Lady Valet was not at all anxious to leave her escort. To the pink-haired girl, the villain Ter seems no longer as evil as she had previously thought. When they left the room, the main villain Ter asked the young lady what she needed the holy water for. Miss Ethel didn't want to say it was one of the ingredients in medicinal tea, so she just said it was needed for something. As my Lady Valis was strolling along with her attendant, they heard a suspicious rustle. Ter took the young lady's hand and said girl ran after him. They hid behind a thick tree. The main villain of the novel, Marquis Terence, had a long sword in his hands. When my Lady Ethel wanted to know what the young man was doing, Terence pressed Lady Valet closer to him with his arm. Suddenly, a suspicious man who wore a black long cloak with an equally grim dark hood came into the field of vision of the main villain Tara and the young Lady Ethel. My Lady Ethel's escort swooped toward this suspicious man. The villain Tyr put his long sword to the girl's throat and asked what she was chasing them for. The woman tried to say something, but she was very worried. Suddenly, this suspicious girl saw my Lady Ethel and exclaimed her name. Villain Tyr inquired about whether Valleys knew the lady. The pink-haired woman replied that she knew this person as, this lady was a maid in her husband's house. This girl's name was Tara. Marquis Terence removed his sword from her throat. The maid was embarrassed in front of them and was very nervous. Tara said she had come to see Lady Ethel, as she had something important to tell my Lady Valet. The girl, Ethel, was angry with Tara. She wondered what the maid had been stealthily sneaking behind them all the way for. Valis added that it was probably Liena who had sent her to them. Tara began to refute the lady's words, saying that the Duke's daughter had nothing to do with it. Milady exclaimed aggressively that she was well aware of all the deeds done by the maid. She added that she'd seen many times the way Tara watched Valet and picked out weaknesses to make it easier to control the lady. Tara was a very loyal maid to the Duke's youngest daughter. Lady Ethel's attendant brought his sharp sword to the maid's throat. The man asked my lady if he should deal with this spy. Ethel Valet did not consent, but merely tilted her head and closed her eyes, asking that Ter leave her alone with Taro. Terence, the main villain of the novella, hid his sword and said he would move far enough away from Tara and my Lady Ethel to not hear their topic of conversation at all. My Lady Ethel leaned over to the maid and told her that if she worked for her, Valet would tell Tara where to find her greatest enemy, Viscount Silon. Wells said that Tara must have wondered more than once how Liena knew everything, as if she were some kind of seer. Liena didn't reveal her biggest secret until the very end of this entire novel. Tara turned her head and said she didn't care how Lady Ethel knew her motives. The maid added that Valet was not her mistress. Then the pink-haired girl asked why Liena still hadn't told her where Sillin lived. They approached each other. Tara asked my lady what my lady wanted from her. The pink-haired girl, with a small smile on her face, told the servant to go back to Liena, but on the condition that Tara relay what Lady Ethel had to say. After telling Tara everything she would need to convey for the Duke's daughter, the maid asked the lady when she would give her the promised information. Leandro's wife smilingly pointed 2 fingers. Ethel said 2 months from now. It wasn't that Liena was actually deliberately withholding information from Tara. She only knew that Vicomte was hiding. Since the Duke's daughter read it out in a newspaper back in her first life, and in this one Liena, too, faithfully reads every issue. Lady Valet folded her palms together, closing her eyes and frowning her eyebrows. My lady began to pray. She asked the gentleman that Tara finally question Liena's honesty and help Miss Ethel with her divorce. At that moment, while Valis's daughter was minding her own business, her attendant Terror sat on top of her. He was in a tall tree, thus frightening the girl. The man on the branch asked Valis how their conversation with the maid had gone. The young man climbed down from the tree to the ground. Marquis Terence, looking at the young lady, said that she seemed to have completely forgotten about her escort. Ethel excitedly asked the man if Terre had heard what she had discussed with Tara, the maid. The main villain of this novella smiled at my Lady Ethel's said words. The young man said with sincerity that of course he had not overheard their conversation. The man added that he always follows the orders of his employers. At these words, my Lady Ethel got a cute smile on her face. The girl said that such a loyal bodyguard should at least be treated to a tasty and hearty lunch. She suggested that the main villain of the novella return to the hotel. The faithful servant Tara has returned to Duke Cassius's estate. She immediately met the Duke's daughter, Liena. The maids were adjusting the lush purple dress the lady was wearing. Liena said hello to Tara and asked how it went. My Lady Liena made an unhappy face, folded her palms, and told the maids that she wanted to talk to Tara about something. The girl added, specifically in private. The Duke's youngest daughter asked all the maids to leave the room for a while. Duke Cassius's youngest daughter was pleased that she liked the maids so much, but my lady also added that they were too pushy in places. Tara wondered why Liena couldn't just ask the maids to stop doing that. Right after talking about her maids, my Lady Liena asked the faithful maid Tara how her little sister Ethel was doing. Tara replied that she hadn't noticed anything different. She added that Ethel was out shopping today. Liena asked what her little sister's mood was. The maid said the lady was quite cheerful and even smiled. The maid, with a serious face, asked the Duke's youngest daughter if she planned to leave Lady Ethel's mines for the time being. Liena Cassis smilingly replied to Tara that she would leave the caves for the moment. The girl added that the price of mines will increase for a while yet. Maid Tara said she would continue to keep an eye on Lady Ethel's actions. Duke Cassius's youngest daughter said it was no longer necessary. She added for the maid to return to her primary duties. Lady Ethel and her escort, Marquis Terence, walked to their hotel. They sat down at a table and started talking and making herbal tea. Beside Terre was his large, sharp sword. The girl brewed the very healing tea for Terence's headaches. Ethel Valet asked how the man tasted of the drink. Villain Terre said the tea wasn't bad. He added that it tastes a little like medicine. The lady said that the young man had been taking it for the 3rd day but had no effect. Marquis asked for what effects the speech was for. My Lady Valet said there should have been an improvement in sleep, as well as a lightness of movement and an increase in all of Marquis Terence's energy. The girl said there were supposed to be this type of effects. Leandro's wife was very upset that the drink didn't help Terry's headache. The main villain excitedly said that it was just tea, not a medicine of any kind. The man added that there could be no strong effect. Lady Ethel understood that it wasn't just tea, but if the girl asked her attendant Tara directly about his headaches, it would immediately reveal the whole point of Veles. The girl thought about the fact that she had probably just prepared the healing tea for Marquis Terence incorrectly. Lady Ethel Valet is able to look into the text of the short story. A girl can reread it absolutely anywhere and any time. After Leandro's wife looked into the text of the novella, She was convinced that she had done everything correctly and according to the recipe. The girl Ethel considers it quite a useful skill in life, but after it, the young lady somehow gets very tired. Milady can't do it more than a couple times a day. My lady leaned back against the table and sat like that with her eyes closed until her male escort responded to her. Marquis Terence decided to approach the girl. He turned to her, looking at Lady Ethel with eyes as red as rubies, and said quietly in her ear that she looked rather tired. With a startled gasp, my Lady Ethel leaned back. The girl stammered, saying that she was a man in general. She said she was really tired for today. Valis's daughter said she would go to the hotel and take a nap, and the young man to relax without the lady for the time being. Marquis Terence disagreed with the girl's words. He said it was his duty to accompany Ethel Valleys everywhere. The young man held out his palm to the lady. Miss said the closer she gets to know Tara, the more she likes him. Suddenly, some man on the street shouted Terence's name. The attendant said it was a fellow mercenary. He complimented that the mentor wanted to discuss something with Terence. Milady told them to take their time. She would go ahead for now. At that moment, a luxurious carriage pulls up to Lady Valet and the main villain, Marquis. It was done in gold and white colors. The girl Ethel immediately realized that it was the Cassius family's carriage. Unexpectedly for Lady Ethel, the Duke's youngest daughter ran out of this carriage. Miss Liana ran straight at my Lady Valiance and jumped into her arms. The girl was shocked to meet someone from Cassius. A girl named Ethel Vallis and the youngest daughter of Duke Cassius, named Liana, were staying in one of the buildings. Standing next to Sis Leandro was the same maid, Tara, and a young man, Mattis. The girls had tea poured on the table. The lady glanced at her attendant, who was talking to his colleague. She said, "Thank goodness to stay away from her." Miss Vallis complimented that she really hoped that Liana didn't realize that she and that man were in on it. The Ethel Valley girl put her hand to her head, furrowing her brows. With a displeased face, she asked the Duke's youngest daughter what Liana needed from her. Suddenly, Mattis told Ethel not to be rude to Lady Liana, to which the Duke's youngest daughter replied that the young man should not hurt her little sister. She gave the lad orders that he should at once apologize to Lady Ethel. Ethel Valet was very annoyed at the behavior of those two. The girl averted her gaze and told them to stop immediately. She complimented that they are well past their 5th birthday. Leandro's wife put her teacup on a saucer and said that the Duke's youngest daughter, Liana, should henceforth not call Ethel Valet her little sister. Tears came to Liana's eyes. She said she had come to apologize on behalf of her older brother Leandro and about the mines. Ethel Wells knows it all very well for herself. The Ethel girl removed my Lady Liana's hands from her cup and further continued to drink her tea. Cassius's youngest daughter said she didn't even know how to explain things to the lady, but overall Liana had some sort of premonition. Liana said she once bought some pot at the flea market that turned out to be a priceless piece of art. When the lady found out about it, she resold it profitably, which made the family a big profit. The Duke's daughter said she understood the fact that Ethel didn't believe her. She added that at first everyone in the family thought Liana was playing a joke on them. The Duke's daughter continued her ridiculous narrative for my Lady Ethel. Miss Liana said she once drove her carriage straight through Andale. My Lady Liana, pointing with her finger, exclaimed that it was at that moment that she had a premonition that the Ethel Valley's mines would become very, very profitable in the future. The Duke's youngest daughter began to say that Leandro had come to Ethel's parents' house to buy these mines, but when he saw the Valley's daughter, he fell in love with her at first sight. Miss understood that Liana wasn't a bad person, but at the right moments, the girl could easily mix truth with meaning. The cunning of the Duke's youngest daughter had pleased Ethel while she was reading the novella, but then she had not tried to trick Lady Valet personally. Liana was tying a bow on her hat. The girl asked if Lady Valet remembered the first day at the Cassius house. The Duke's youngest daughter said Miss Liana liked her right away. Then Ethel said she could go back to the Cassius family since they no longer needed the Valley's mines. She said it was actually disturbing to the girl. Milady complimented, very glad that it was about Liana's premonition. At that point, Lady Ethel said that since the caves were no longer needed, she would return them to her parents. She saw how much Liana began to worry. Then Lady Valet said that did the Cassius family really only love Ethel because of the mines? Liena said that wasn't true at all. The Duke's youngest daughter exclaimed that she had brought many different gifts for Lady Ethel. The girl asked Matisse to bring them here as soon as possible. As Ethel began to open the gifts from the Cassius family, she said that it looked like Liena wasn't going to admit that the only thing she liked about my Lady Valet was her dowry. After Lady Valet opened one of the gifts, Liena said she didn't know exactly what Miss Ethel would like, so she had picked up just a little bit of each. When my lord's wife saw the jewelry, she realized that it was not a cheap gift. The Duke's daughter told Miss Ethel to try on this beautiful necklace as soon as possible, but the daughter of the Valet family said she would not do so, as she did not like the color. Liena was shocked by her older brother's spouse's response. The daughter of the Vallis family was extremely angry with Lehem and Leandro's younger sister. Ethel said that Miss Liena would never have so lavishly bidden her if the Valles had not had the mines. Liena said, "Then Sis is definitely mad." The Duke's daughter said she knew about Ethel's resentment toward her brother Leandro, but she didn't have to be like that with her at all. The youngest member of the Cassius family began to squeeze out tears and pity. The lady bent down with tears in her eyes to Ethel and begged that she would forget all quarrels and regard the Duke's youngest daughter with the same love with which Valet had regarded her before. Ethel was shocked at the words of Cassius's daughter. At this point, Leandro's spouse was very angry. She asked Liena what made her think Ethel had ever been nice to Duke Cassius's youngest daughter at all. After saying these words, my Lady Ethel decided to look at Lehem's little sister. She was trying to make a pretty face to bribe the daughter of the Valet family. Liena said that Ethel just couldn't help but love someone like her. After Liena Cassius came back from the past, then this my lady was surrounded by exceptionally enthusiastic adorers. Literally all the people around the Duke's youngest daughter were inspired by this lady. No one treated this girl badly except the villains. Everyone else was very interested and curious about Miss Liena. My Lady Ethel thought very hard. She knew that in Liena's world, it was simply impossible not to love her. The daughter of the Vallis family said the youngest member of the Cassius family couldn't think of anyone hating her unreasonably. The Duke's youngest daughter tried again to make a very pretty face. The girl put her palms to her cheeks and smilingly told Lady Ethel Valet to take at least one of the offered presents, if only out of love for Miss Liena. My Lady Ethel leaned on her arm and thought hard. The girl believed that if she went along with her feelings now, she would make the Duke's youngest daughter named Liena her real enemy. But the daughter of the Valet family has no energy left at all for reasoning after reading the novella today. Ethel drew a conclusion for herself. The girl rose from the table, turned before my Lady Liena, and said that she did not like her, and henceforth Ethel would not see the Duke's daughter. She asked that Liena disappear and not show up anywhere else. The daughter of the Vallis family was coming up the steps to her room. She waved her hand and said she wouldn't be escorting Liena out, so she could leave this room on her own. Ethel's last words were only goodbye. After the girl Ethel's words, the servant Mattis was very much annoyed with the lady. The young man asked how my Lady Vallis dared to insult Duke Liena's daughter in such a manner. The man began to threaten Lady Ethel. As soon as Mattis began to ascend the steps to the girl, Ethel's attendant, named Marquis Ternus, appeared on his way. Liena's servant asked who he was, to which Ter replied that he was a random passerby. The young boy Mattis was very angry at Lady Ethel and the main villain Terence. Liena's servant reached into his pocket to pull out his long and sharp sword, but out of the blue, suddenly the youngest daughter of Duke Cassius shouted out for Mattis to stop this circus immediately, as the guy is disgracing the entire reputation of the Cassius family. The attendant, Marquis Terence, asked the girl if she was all right. My Lady Ethel said that this sight was not meant for Tara's eyes. The man smilingly replied that compared to his family, theirs was a paragon of piety. The young man complimented that Ethel Vallis had not even told him about her husband being one of the Cassius family. The girl replied that the attendant Tyr not even ask about who the lady's husband was. Companion Terence said that parting ways with a man like my Lord Leandro Cassius would be a very difficult task. Ethel's girlfriend asked the young man if he had talked to a fellow mercenary they had met on the street. The attendant, Marquis Terence, replied that they had discussed everything that needed to be discussed, and his colleague said that there was someone waiting for him at home. A daughter in the Vallis family said Terence would then have to hurry. The man who accompanies Ethel replied that he sees the man often enough as it is. He complimented that it wouldn't be a big deal if Marquise was a little late. Ethel's girl was very thoughtful. She figured it was someone important since the servant came running in a hurry. The man Terence often sees and can't be kept waiting. Was it really the Emperor himself who was being talked about? She began shoving the male attendant out of the room. Ethel told Ter to leave as soon as possible. The Marquis started to make excuses that he was in no hurry to go anywhere, but the lady said she would wait for the man and asked him to hurry up and get out of here. Ethel said that if this man who is waiting for the chief villain of the house is really the Emperor, then there is a great probability that the Lord to Terence has a very important conversation indeed. A man arrived at the estate. The Marquis asked the servant where the Emperor was now. The attendant said His Majesty was waiting in the main hall. Terence said that the Emperor should have been told not to wait and went back to the palace. The Marquis walked into the main hall, sat down on one knee, and apologized to the Emperor. Ter said that His Majesty should have warned him of the visit in advance. Then the Marquis would have prepared himself. The king said there was no need for all these formalities. The Emperor frowned his eyebrows and said that he understood the fact that Terence was enjoying his youth. But His Majesty asked how much longer the Marquis would roam anywhere.
Terence turned his head to the other side. His Majesty said the same goes for the Marquis's clothes. The young man said the clothes were bought for him by the very same Lady Ethel. Ter added that the girl treats him too well.
The grown man said that he understood perfectly well that Marquis Terence wanted to see the world completely, but from this day on he should begin to master the skills that would be extremely necessary for a person of royal blood. The Emperor smilingly folded his arms. The man said that Terence is his son and therefore he wants to bring the Marquis into the palace. Terence sat and thought about his father's proposal. A man would be lying if he said he never dreamed of being a prince. He added that now was the best moment, when Vidor's position had been weakened by the elevation of Cassius's, since the crown prince is currently caring for an orphan. Marquis Terence added that the Empress's position at court had also deteriorated quite a bit lately. The Emperor's son said thoughtfully that he was not particularly interested in power, but he was eager to see the face of the Empress, who had just recently sent an assassin after Terence. The young man was even more interested in how Michael, who was used to getting absolutely everything since childhood, would react without any special efforts and endeavors. The young man understood perfectly well that after he made a choice and answered his father with his consent, the man's life would change dramatically. Marquis Terence knew that no one refused such offers. The Cassius estate was in complete turmoil. The Duke took hold of his head and frustratingly told his eldest son Leander that he had no idea how this whole story involving the esteemed emperor would end. A couple days ago, Duke Cassius went to see the emperor himself. His Majesty said the man bribed an official to spoil all the documents. Marquis Terence said the Duke's son must love this woman more than life. The father of the Cassius family aggressively told his eldest son that the divorce petition had been finalized after all, and he was going to court soon. The Duke added that it's still very soon. Absolutely everyone will know exactly which family this news is about. My Lord Leandro said he would try to straighten things out. The eldest son will try to reconcile with his wife Ethel before the trial. His father said that if he was really capable of it, it wouldn't have gone to trial. The Lord said he would make it work. Leandro's little sister told him to be quite careful as Sis is very, very angry. Liena said he actually checked on her yesterday and Lady Ethel said she didn't like Miss and wanted the Duke's daughter gone. Duke Cassius's daughter said that in general, the older brother would have to try very hard in order to regain his little sister's former love. Leandro sighed and said that every time they met, things just got worse. At this moment, my Lady Ethel and her male escort, Terence, arrived at some property planted with a large number of plants. The girl was very surprised at the beauty and said that this garden at the hotel is quite attractive. Lady Valet said that today's weather is marvelous. The girl asked if the young man would like to have tea in the gazebo. The Marquis of Terence agreed to my lady's proposal. The man asked if he could order everything himself. Ethel hesitated a little. As for the divorce, it went very quickly. The girl added that, who knows, maybe Terence's hand was involved. The lady decided it would be necessary to thank the man with a cup of flavored tea. Unexpectedly, a carriage pulled up to the garden at the hotels. Ethel recognized it at once. It was the luxurious carriage of the Cassius family. The Duke's eldest son, named Leandro, crouched with his white suit pants on one knee. He held out to the girl a bouquet of large pink rosebuds. The man smilingly asked Lady Ethel if she would forgive him and give him a second chance. Leandro's wife was unhappy with her husband's behavior. She motioned for the young man to stand up, but the Lord said he would remain in that pose until Lady Ethel forgave him. The daughter of the Vallis family told him to stop and stand up. The man told the girl not to worry, for my lord had no pity at all, neither for his knees nor his dignity. After saying that, Lady Ethel became even more angry. The girl told Lord Leandro to get off his knee immediately. A daughter in the Valet family said she was just incredibly surprised that Duke Cassius's eldest son had the nerve to start apologizing to Lady Ethel. My Lord Leandro asked the girl what was the big deal. The young man added that he made a mistake and now he just has to apologize for it. Lady Ethel said that all was already lost with him and no apology would help. Miss turned to Leandro and said that he had made a scene in the middle of the garden and had torn the girl away from her walk. She asked the Lord if everyone in the Cassius family had such manners. He said that if he had warned her, Ethel wouldn't have wanted to see him. Leandro took his sky-blue eyes aside and said that his little sister, Liena, had already explained to Lady Ethel about that business with the mines. She asked the Lord what he wanted to tell her what he had first gotten close to her because of the mines. But as soon as he saw Ethel, he fell in love immediately. My Lord said it's not nonsense. The man really did fall in love with the lady. He was just ashamed to admit it. The girl said it was a residual end to their relationship. She told the Duke's eldest son to decide for himself what to do next in this life. Leandro exclaimed that if Lady Ethel returned home, the Duke's eldest son, Leandro, would henceforth be responsible for marital duties. The young man added that he would also praise her and keep her safe from others. Valet's daughter took a bouquet of huge, pink, and beautiful rosebuds from the man's hands. The girl walked a little farther and threw the gift right into the trash can next to it. Ethel Wells said it's too late anyway. Leandro grabbed the girl's hands. In a fit of aggression, he began to say that he promised what he promised, that he would make time to socialize with Ethel. The daughter whose family had precious minds said she no longer wanted to speak to the Lord. The Duke's eldest son began to grow more and more angry with Ethel Vallis. The young man holding the girl's hands starts to freak out. The man said he didn't understand what was so terrible about sitting down normally and discussing things calmly. Unexpectedly, at the scandal of my Lady Ethel and my Lord Leandro, came the girl's attendant. The man shoved Lord Cassius with all his might to get him off Miss Vallis. Marquis kicked him so hard that he fell straight to the ground. Marcus Terence held in one hand a tray of hot tea and the teapot itself. My Lady Ethel's attendant said in a serious voice that the Duke's eldest son should not be sticking it to those to whom he was indifferent. The Lord continued to sit on the floor in the same misunderstanding manner, and Mr. Terence asked my Lady Estelle's pardon for being very much delayed. Marquis said he had to wait until the owner of the tea house itself returned to the hotel. My lord asked who the black-haired man was. Marquis replied that he was not a waiter. He can certainly make a cup of tea, but he specializes in something else. Ethel realized that the Cassiuses did not yet know the Marquis of Freehaven by sight. When Leandro learned that this man was my lady's bodyguard, he was puzzled. He pointed his finger at the guy and said that since this man was Ethel's escort, it turns out he's always hanging around the wife of the Duke's eldest son. The Lord said Lady Vallis has her own husband after all, and the girl goes everywhere with this mercenary. The man excitedly asked Lady Ethel what she would do if the people around her saw the bodyguard next to the lady. Vally's daughter, smiling, said the most important thing to her is that her husband trusts her. The girl added the fact that she didn't care at all what the people around my Lady Ethel thought. The Duke's eldest son, named Leandro, was excited by his wife's response. The young man told the girl that her reputation was under severe threat. The heroine Ethel Valet turned to her former man, saying that there's a good chance that her spouse never realized anything. This girl proposed on all of this and put their big fat end to it. Duke Cassius's eldest son was very excited. The young man asked the lady what such a terrible thing would happen if Lady Ethel gave the Duke's family the very mines. He vowed that they would remain untouched if Lady Valet so desired. Leandro added that he just wants those caves to be credited to his little sister Liena. The girl frowned her eyebrows and said that she realized what the young man still cared most about Liena's happiness. My Lady Ethel told the man not to hope for anything. She said she would never give the mines to the Duke's daughter. Ethel said that nothing at all would change her mind about her ex-husband. The daughter of the Vallis family said she wouldn't care if Leandro suddenly fell behind in her mines, even if the Duke's eldest son instantly turned into the man of her dreams. Lady Vallis said, with anger on her face, to Duke Cassius's eldest son to finally hear the lady and get behind her. She added that my Lord Leandro should go to his adored little sister Liena and live with her for the rest of his days. Ethel turned and walked away with the man accompanying the Marquis to the garden. She said that Leandro continued to lie like that from the Valley girl. He didn't want those mines. Milady has made the final choice that she is definitely leaving Cassius. She and bodyguard Terence walked into one of the coffee shops. Ethel drank her tea and thought about what had happened today. Miss understood that the Duke's eldest son and Marquis Terence had met, which meant that very soon this meeting would reach Liena's ears. At this moment, the male attendant was also sitting and thinking about what happened today in the garden. The young man decided that he needed to contact Tarai to ask her about what was going on in that Cassius family right now. Milady apologized for her husband Leandro being too rough with the bodyguard. Marquis said with a smile on his face that it would be much better for a daughter from the Valais family to call the Duke's eldest son her already ex-husband. Afterward, Miss hesitantly spoke of worrying quite a bit about her ex-husband. The girl said that with his lewd behavior and strange suspicions, Leandro might have offended Terence's escort. The girl tilted her head down and said she apologized. Valais said she didn't want there to be any ridiculous awkwardness between Ethel and the young man Terence. The Marquis said the Lord had not insulted him in any way. The daughter of the Vallis family looked at her male escort. My Lady Ethel asked him if all was well and the Marquis was not offended by the girl's ex-husband's words today, what reason the man to look so depressed. Marquis Terence tilted his head down sadly, took a deep breath, and said that Lady Ethel Vallis's ex-husband looked much better than the attendant had expected. The young man added that he meant in terms of appearance. Ethel could not understand how Leandro's appearance and Terence's bad mood were connected. The lady had to use a drop of sweet lies to win Tere's full favor. Miss said the Lord isn't that handsome. During their conversation, Ethel's attendant noticed something that the tea the girl was constantly making for him was beginning to gradually show. In her mind, the girl was indescribably happy that he was finally having any effect at all. A daughter from the Vallis family asked the Marquis how he realized something had changed in him. The young man Terence said he has suffered from severe headaches since childhood, but recently Marquis's pain has begun to gradually subside. The man said that if Miss Ethel didn't mind, let the lady share the recipe for this healing tea. Accompanying Terence also asked Vallis how much it would cost to apply all the ingredients for this magical cure. The girl would of course agree to the said proposal of the Marquis. Lady Ethel said she would give the recipe for this healing tea in full, but in return the daughter of the Vallis family asks the attendant for a return favor. The young man agreed to return the favor. Lady Ethel folded her palms and asked that the attendant simply help the girl with her divorce. Miss Valet called the man by his full name, Marquis Freeheiden. After some time of reflection, Marquis Terence gave his consent to a favorable bargain from the girl Ethel. The young lad said he wouldn't mind helping Lady Valet with the divorce proceedings in exchange for the recipe for this miracle tea. The girl felt regret for the man. Ethel Valet said that she would gladly have given the accompanying Marquis the recipe for the healing tea gratis, but the young man himself must realize that the lady's situation was not at all easy. Ethel's bodyguard said this tea was my lady's. The young man said it would be much fairer if Ternus Freeheiden paid for it himself. At this point, the attendant Marquis asked the lady what exactly he could do to help Miss Terence offered financial help from the start, but Lady Ethel Valet said she expected the man to support her politically. The girl said that to begin with it was necessary to prevent Duke Cassius from interfering with the trial, even though the Cassiuses are the main characters in this novel. These people have never railed against sneaky and dishonest practices. There were even rumors that there was a demon in the Cassius bloodline. Because of this, the father of the family was nicknamed the Demon Duke. The Marquis asked the girl if she was sure that the Duke would really interfere in their divorce. Estelle said she was sure of it, and might even put herself in mortal danger to prove a point that Father Leandro would intervene. The accompanying man asked young Ethel why she even thought Terence had the strength to stop the Cassius family. The young man complimented that he was the Emperor's helpless, illegitimate son and nothing more. She replied that Marquis had helped Ethel's girlfriend push all the right papers through the court. My lady said she received a notice from the court the day after Terence Freeheiden went home on his business. Sighing heavily, my Lady Valet added that she felt as if she were fighting alone against a powerful foe. This girl added that she would feel much more at ease knowing that someone would be on Ethel's wrong side. Terence Freeheiden rose from the table, stepped closer to the lady, and held out his palm to her. The attendant asked if Miss Ethel would like to go for a walk with him. The man added that the weather is just fine today. Miss Ethel Vallis and the Marquis Terence were strolling through the streets of the capital. At one point, the girl turned to the young man and asked if he wanted to go shopping. The man said he hoped the daughter in the Vallis family didn't want to give the bodyguard another gift again. This time, Ethel refuted what the Marquis had said. She says she knows now that Ter is much richer. The attendant said he swore that he would repay the lady for all her generous gifts. Then the girl asked the Marquis if it was okay to pay for gifts. Miss Ethel said if it is that important to Terence, he can give something in return. They made a deal with each other. The Marquis said to let the girl choose whatever she wanted. Milady said with a smile on her face that it wouldn't take long to persuade her. Vallis's daughter said she fears her wishes will leave him destitute. It was already slowly getting darker, and evening was coming. When Ethel and bodyguard Marquis Terence handled the shopping, they walked to the hotel already with a bunch of different jewelry and a variety of clothes. Marquis said his life used to be dull. He was told to be content with what Terence had and never ask for more. The young man had to pretend to be invisible, the man went on to say. The attendant said there were times when he had to hide his real name behind nicknames such as Ter, for example. Terence Freeheiden, continuing to carry all the purchases, said he needed to think things over carefully. The young man cannot yet make up his mind whether or not to accept Lady Ethel's proposal. He said he needed to become something much more than a clueless Marquis Freeheiden with nothing but a title, Lady Ethel Valet said confusedly, quite understanding of her bodyguard. The girl said that the young man could take his time in answering. My lady would wait as long as necessary. The girl Ethel told the young man that she was going to move to another hotel called the Crystal Branch. And if suddenly Lady Valet was not in the room, she told the male Marquis to leave a message in the reception room. The attendant Terence asked my lady if Ethel was traveling alone to that new room for her. The man didn't understand why the girl was suddenly going somewhere alone and without him. He asked if Lady Valet needed a bodyguard now. Lady Valet excitedly said that she did not wish to prevent the young man from thinking over Miss Ethel's proposal. But the accompanying Marquis said he could think of a deal and guard the girl at the same time. The Marquis said with a small smile on his face that their possible deal would in no way relate to his direct duties as a bodyguard to the lady. The man once again asked if Ethel's girlfriend would agree to let him escort her to the new hotel. In her thoughts, the girl realized that the man also wanted to spend more time with Lady Valet. The Marquis asked where my lady was going now. Miss Ethel said smilingly to William Street, in order to visit an attorney. They arrived before the manor, the very man my lady needed. It was a divorce lawyer. Her name was Sharon Madings. The woman had light blonde hair, blue shining eyes, and small oval glasses. Lady Valet noticed that Sharon's office was a mess, but there was no doubting the abilities of this lawyer. Duke Cassius's youngest daughter, Liana, confirmed this in the original novella. In the story, Liana brings a woman who is suffering from domestic violence to Miss Madings for help. The Duke's daughter went specifically to Sharon because she remembered that she would be very successful in the future. Thanks to this woman, it was possible to finalize the divorce as quickly and safely as possible. And after an indefinite period of time, a very surprising truth was revealed. That victim of domestic violence turned out to be the lost daughter of the ambassador from the Kingdom of Laok. My Lady Ethel said she would like to hire Miss Sherov as her attorney. The woman lowered her eyes and replied that she was sure the lady would easily find a more experienced attorney. The daughter of the Vallis family said confidently that only Sharon specializes in divorce, and besides, My Lady Ethel believes that the lawyer will not go against the temptations of Duke Cassius, who is sure to try to bribe both the lawyer and the judge. Mating said Lady Ethel's case would be the most high-profile divorce since the founding of the empire. Sharon's attorney strongly doubts that she is experienced enough for such a serious case. Lady Valet said that Sharon is worried because she fears for them losing this case with Cassius. The lawyer thinks that after such a failure, fewer and fewer people will try to get a divorce from now on. Milady told the lawyer that she had been following Sharon's activities for a short period of time. The lady said that Miss Matings had represented desperate women in court on more than one occasion on a pro bono basis. Sharon said the lady could hire any other lawyer she wanted. Milady said with a sad face that she had been turned down by every lawyer in town, and Miss Matings was her last hope. Ethel said that if she lost this case, other women throughout the empire would be afraid to file for divorce because of the bad example, and then Miss Sharon might lose her piece of bread. Attorney Matings said it was important that My Lady Ethel had an objective reason for the divorce. Sharon said that even so, she was afraid that the Duke's influence could hurt her and Ethel badly. Ethel's girl said she had an excuse. Lady Vallis replied that her husband, named Leandro Cassius, had not yet bestowed any children upon her. Sharon was very shocked at the reason for the divorce. She said that if fertility was a problem, it could well be blamed on the infertility of Ethel Vallis's husband. The divorce lawyer said that if Leandro's husband really did take My Lady to be his wife by withholding such an important issue, it could set the stage for a divorce. Sharon asked the girl if she was absolutely sure that Leandro was the problem. My Lady Ethel said that she didn't really know that for sure, and all because Duke Cassius's eldest son never once fulfilled his marital duty. Sharon said she heard the rumors while she was in the academy, but never thought they would turn out to be true. The woman added that this gossip was spread by his enemy, but it wouldn't hurt her to spin the gossip to the fullest and embarrass Leandro. The lawyer asked the girl that it turns out Leandro did not fulfill his conjugal duty and did not warn My Lady Ethel about anything before the wedding. The woman was very angry. She said it was quite obvious that this marriage was deeply unsuccessful. Matings replied to the lady about Ethel putting up with this sort of thing all this time. Marquis added that Leandro was the worst of all. Sharon Matings took Miss Ethel's hands in hers and said she could see now how hard it had been for the girl. The lawyer said for My Lady to let Sharoni help her, complimenting that Miss Vallis was not at all alone now. The lawyer leaned over and said he felt sorry for the girl. Lady Valet replied that it was her own fault, as she had not told anything until the last. My Lady held out a small bag of coins. Ethel asked to take the money as a down payment. If Sharon decided to work for Miss Vales, she would pay even more. She told Matings to use them to pay off her debts. But Miss Sharon excitedly said the money wouldn't even be enough to pay her debts, much less hire assistants. The lawyer said they had nothing to worry about, and it would be enough if they paid the legal fees. The Marquis pulled out a piece of paper and told Attorney Sharon to write in the required amount and present this check at the Imperial Bank. The young man told her to deposit an amount there that would be enough to cover all expenses. They would like Miss Sharon to not be distracted by anything, including other customers. The name Terence Freeheiden was written on the gold check. The man said he would like someone else to know about his involvement in My Lady's divorce from Lord Cassius. Marquis said he hoped the woman understood exactly what he meant. Ethel had another request for a lawyer. Milady said that she had recently seen a woman named Anna, and it seemed to the girl that something bad was going on in her family. Lady Valet asked that Miss Sharon take over the case as well. The daughter in the Vallis family told the man she didn't think he would draw conclusions so quickly from the decision. Ethel thought he would need much more time to think about it. Ethel said that the girl would change hotels again today, and for that, My Lady needed to stop by to pick up her things. She said she didn't want the Cassiuses to find out where Leandro's ex-wife lived. Unexpectedly for the lady, the accompanying Marquis said that the carriage was not heading for the hotel at all. The man said they were going to Terence Manor. The young man said that Miss could relax and stay with him for a while. Ethel was very frightened. The girl was afraid of what would happen if society found out that she had come to the single Marquis, not yet even divorced from Lord Leander. The young man said the girl misunderstood him. He said it was not the Marquis's official residence, but a villa outside the capital. The accompanying man added that the villa officially belonged to someone else, so the Cassiuses would not find Lady Valet so easily anymore. After the bodyguard's words, Miss said she would love to visit his estate. When they arrived at the Marquis's villa, the young man sat down at the table and began to ponder. He said it was not like him. The servant in the back didn't know what Mr. Terence was talking about. Terence had no way of knowing what for. He handed the check to Sharon's attorney. The man planned to wait at least a week and watch all the developments, and ended up revealing the location of his villa. The Marquis didn't realize what was happening to him. They traveled to the capital of the Duchy of Cassius. Lady Valet was very happy that they had finally arrived. The man said he, too, was glad the years had gotten there. Miss said going first class was great. The accompanying Marquis asked Lady Valet if the maid would appear. The girl replied that if she were Laura, she would definitely come. Laura had come with Lady Ethel to Cassius Manor from her ancestral home. She was destined to be the witness who would confirm Leandro's neglect. Miss has mailed her request. She hopes the maid will come. The package said it was little Leanna's birthday. The Duke loves his adopted daughter so much that he even threw a festival in her honor. Ethel said that Leanna Cassius and baby Leanna are not the same thing. That's the name of her tame dog Percy, and the birthday of the Duke's youngest daughter is on a different day altogether. The festival in honor of this date is incomparably more lavish than today's. The girl continued to narrate. Miss Ethel said the celebration lasts for 15 days. It is also the day of the adoption of Leanna's youngest daughter. Laura decided to respond to my lady's request after all. When they met, Miss Vallis decided to ask the maid if she was sure she agreed, for it might be dangerous to go against the Cassiuses. Laura said she would be on the girl's side. Next to Cassius's maid stood a yellowish suitcase on wheels. Ethel asked Laura if these things were hers. The servant told her that she no longer worked at the Cassius house, so she could follow Ethel anywhere. Miss Ethel grabbed Laura by the arm in joy and pulled, saying that now it was time to go to the train. The maid abruptly removed her hand from my lady's. Valet asked what was the matter, as the lady thought she had squeezed Laura's hand hard. Heavy tears appeared on the servant's face. With a lump in her throat, she began to recount the whole situation that had happened to her. As it turns out, Laura didn't leave the Cassiuses on her own. She was fired. Ethel Wells was very angry about the whole situation. The lady took Miss Laura by the shoulders and asked her who dared to dismiss the maid without the permission of her daughter Vallies. The girl replied that the housekeeper had so ordered it. They sat down on the bench that was next to them. A former servant of the Cassiuses said that this situation occurred on the very day when Laura received a letter by mere letter from my Lady Ethel. Laura continued her story. The girl said that on that day, several maids brought a portrait of the Duke's youngest daughter, Leanna, to Ethel's chambers and took it straight to the wall. Those maids said it's Miss Leanna's quarters now. A former servant named Laura wanted to stop them, but accidentally knocked over a cup of ink onto a portrait of Leandro's little sister. My Lady Ethel asked if it was because of this incident that the girl had been dismissed. Laura decided to take off her white gloves and show her what's up. When the maid took them off, Ethel saw that the former Cassius maid's hands were covered in more scars and bruises. The maid tearfully said she was glad they at least didn't make her refund the cost of the portrait, but they didn't give her a letter of recommendation either. Laura said that the road to other noble houses was now closed for the girl. A huge estate was visible in the distance. It was the Duchy of Cassius, ruled by one of the most powerful families in the empire. They are responsible for the defense of the North. Miss Ethel knows all about this family, as she was still a part of it not long ago. The maid Laura, Leandro's almost ex-wife and Marquis Terrence's escort, walked into the Duchy of Cassius. Miss Ethel entered the manor aggressively. Cassius's servants were not at all looking forward to their arrival. They were in the midst of preparing for Leanna's baby girl celebration. The maids asked what Miss Ethel and those two were doing here, also adding that the Duke and Mr. Leandro are currently detained in the capital. A daughter of the valet family asked one of the maids if she had ordered the portrait of Liena to be hung in my lady's chambers. Miss Ethel approached the servants and shouted aggressively that she did not understand, since when, on the Cassius estate, servants were free to do as they pleased, much less to alter Mrs. Vallis's chambers without permission. Ethel realized that every single occupant of Cassius Manor was very fond of Liena. The girl pointed her finger at the three maids and said they were three fired. Lady Valet added that letters of recommendation, they will not receive any either. In due course, Madame Housekeeper came down before Ethel. The woman with a smirk on her face tilted her head in greeting. She apologized to Valet for not meeting my lady, as no one had not notified Madame of her mistress's arrival. One of Cassius's maids was carrying some luxurious item on a tray. Ethel Valet turned to the girl to ask what kind of box it was. The lady requested that the Duke's servant give the item to Leandro's former wife. The housekeeper said it was a magical artifact meant as a gift for Lady Liena. Ethel said she would give the Duke's youngest daughter the gift herself. She complimented that she planned to stop by the capital anyway. Madame inclined her head again and said that it was she who had ordered Lady Liena's portrait to be hung in Ethel's chambers. The homeowner also added that if Miss Valet wants to punish someone for this, let her punish this woman. This housekeeper was also the nanny for the Duke's youngest daughter. That same woman was Liena's strongest ally in the entire house of Cassius. Suddenly, Lady Valet exclaimed what right Madame Housekeeper had to dismiss Ethel's maid and beat her. The woman replied that managing the maids was her direct responsibility. Miss Valet said that was not true, and only she, Laura's owner, had the right to discipline or fire her. Ethel said that Madame could only ask her permission. The housekeeper's orders do not apply to the lady's personal servants. Leandro's almost ex-wife said she didn't understand how a housekeeper could be ignorant of such simple rules. Ethel also added that she did not know how Lady Liena could have considered Madame a suitable choice for the position. Madame aggressively reprimanded Ethel not to dare to question Lady Liena's decisions. The woman said that Miss Vallis does have some power in this Cassius house, but that does not mean at all that Miss is its mistress. Lady Vallis said her husband was the eldest son of Duke Cassius. Besides, the Duchess has long since left this world. Ethel asked Madame Housekeeper about who she thought was the mistress of the estate. From all she had heard, Madame of the Housekeepers was very annoyed. The woman exclaimed that the mistress of Cassius's estate is the Duke's youngest daughter, Lady Liena. Then Ethel said that it seemed Madame had forgotten the rules and traditions. Milady said she'd be the landlady here even if her mother-in-law were alive. Since Lady Valet's husband is the official master of this estate, Madame Housekeeper said that the girl was not yet quite aware that the Cassius estate was being managed by the one who held the key to the family treasury, and it was kept by Lady Liena, the sole and undivided mistress of the house. Duke Cassius personally handed over the keys to the treasury to Lady Liena. He said his adopted daughter, though very young, is already smart. Cassius was confident that Miss could handle managing the household chores. Madame Housekeeper, with a big grin on her face, said that my Lady Ethel had no right to punish them or dismiss any of the servants. Lady Ethel now learned the motives behind those words. The girl exclaimed and said that Madame was openly mocking her, adding that it was a tremendous impertinence. Miss Vallis said she would tell her husband about the woman's disrespectful behavior, but the smirk didn't disappear from the housekeeper's face. Madame said that Mr. Leandro also agreed that the management of the house would be better entrusted to the Duke's youngest daughter, Liena. Vallis successfully recorded the confession with a magical recorder she had previously taken from one of Cassius's maids. This record will serve as an important argument in court. It was proof that Liena had taken the place of mistress of the manor, which was rightfully meant for Ethel, and that Leandro had not objected to it in any way, and even encouraged such an outrage. Lady Ethel said for all of them to do as they pleased, the girl added, retiring to her room. If it hadn't been Percy's birthday, the magic recorder, an invention of the summoning scientist, wouldn't be here. This scholar is another of the many allies Duke Liena's youngest daughter has gained through memories from the past. She sponsors his activities and in return receives valuable artifacts like this recorder. When Ethel Valet entered her chambers, she saw that all the walls in her room were hung with pictures of the Duke's youngest adopted daughter, Liena. There were about 3 of her paintings on each wall. Lady Valet realized that although she was not the mistress of the house, she could do what she wished with the gifts. The girl said in a high tone to Cassius's servants to immediately remove these portraits of Lyanna from all of my Lady Ethel's walls. Ethel irritably asked them about whether they themselves did not realize how much they were insulting Lady Lyanna. Miss Valet said she did not understand how anyone could hang such mediocre paintings on the wall. The girl asked how they themselves thought it was possible to convey all of Lyanna's beauty with colors. Ethel asked them if they couldn't see the difference between Lyanna the real thing and the scribbles. Madame and the servants said the real lady was much prettier. Ethel said that all these portraits were just a ridiculous attempt to copy the unique beauty of the Duke's real youngest daughter, Lyanna. Madame said that's what painting is all about, trying to convey. The woman did not finish as she was interrupted by Miss Ethel. She said the housekeeper thought these simple sketches were worthy of representing my Lady Lyanna. The woman gave a negative answer. Then Ethel asked Madame why she was still not busy destroying the paintings. The housekeeper was silent and did not respond in any way to the girl's words. Lacre and Marquis watched this sight with a smile on their faces. Madame Housekeeper and the servants apologized. The woman said she misspoke badly to my lady. Lady Valet said that part of her wishes right now, to gather up all the paintings around the house and burn them in one big bonfire, but she's in good spirits today. Miss Ethel said she was laying herself down as the expiator of this terrible sin, and now intended to destroy at least the pictures that Lady Valet had in her possession. Madame and Cassius's servants crouched on their knees with a cry. They asked my lady to stop and do nothing with the paintings. Ethel said they would then prefer to leave those sinful paintings on the walls, and Lady Lyanna meant nothing to them. Madame shouted that she was wrong. She said she herself had asked artists to paint portraits to hang in Ethel's chambers. At this moment, all the servants were apologizing to Lady Valet. The housekeeper tearfully said she just couldn't bear to watch Ethel destroy Lady Lyanna's images, much less be a part of it. Madame requested that Miss Valet had better punish her. Ethel said that unfortunately she did not have the status of mistress of the estate, so she had no right to punish Madame.